building and BDS training. We're going to talk about now, we're going to listen to several of the coalition groups and what they're doing, and then we'll have an open discussion after that, and then we'll have a break. So the first person that is going to talk is Pat Hewitt, and she's going to talk about some of the billboards that have been put up around Denver and on the buses, and Boulder. So here's Pat Hewitt. Very much.
That is certainly a tough act to follow, I must say. But I think one of the really visible ways that I think the billboards helped to bring the attention of this issue to people who had no knowledge of it whatsoever, just driving along or seeing an ad on the side of a bus. They were stopped by, or they were started by an organization called Stop30billion.org, and I believe they're out of Albuquerque originally.
That's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, but so they sponsored, I know you've seen some of them up here, but billboards and ads on the sides of buses that said, tell Congress, spend our money at home, not on the Israeli military. And I think they were very effective. At one point, well, there were 2 different times last year where we had 10 different billboards placed strategically around the city of Denver, and there were some in Boulder as well. And they were very highly visible, and I think that it got the attention of Stand With Israel, who placed an opposing billboard down on the corner of 8th and Lincoln, which was not the most effective way of dealing with the issue, but certainly not what they said. But then also the bus ads, which were placed by Boulder groups that dealt with stopping the Israeli military, talked about our tax dollars at work and showed images of demolished Palestinian homes. They were pretty graphic and pretty important, I think, and they did get attention. I'd love to see more of them. Organizations that are interested can get $5,000 matching dollars to do this program from Stop 30 Billion. So it's a good thing, and it does, I'm sure, bring people in with at least a question about why are they saying this about Israel. And so, planting the seeds, it's a good thing. And so I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about those. I know they've been placed around the country in various other cities, so thank you.
Jan is up next from Colorado, or the Friends of Sabeel-Colorado.
Right. And the name of the organization is Friends of Sabeel because we are sort of a support organization for a Palestinian organization called Sabeel, and it is headquartered in East Jerusalem, and it is a Palestinian liberation theology movement, a Christian liberation theology movement. And what we do in Colorado is in support of the work that they're doing. Arnie Voigt and Pat Hewitt and I are the 3 sort of the team leaders for the group in Colorado. And one of the most visible things we do is we have a monthly program. It's an educational program to sort of help people understand more about what's actually happening in Israel and Palestine. Another important aspect of our work is an annual fact-finding trip, and Arnie Voigt is one of the leaders of that trip, and they'll be leaving shortly in early June to go to the West Bank and Israel and hear from a lot of human rights groups. So it's a really excellent opportunity for people like me to go over there and meet with people and hear what's really going on on the ground over there. Another aspect of our work is we sell some olive products, which also helps to make it more visible, make the issue more visible, because if you purchase a bottle of Palestinian olive oil and you take it to your friend's house for dinner in place of the bottle of wine that you might normally bring, that's a good way to kind of spread the word about what's happening.
I have a question on that. How do they let that olive oil come out of Palestine? How
There's
Israeli
the group that we're using right now to order the olive oil from is called Canaan Fair Trade. And it's fair traded olive oil from Palestinian cooperatives in the Jenin area, or throughout the West Bank, but I think they bottle it in the Jenin area.
But do they let it go out? I mean, does Israel allows it to
Right.
be?
Yes. And I don't know if that's very difficult or what, but we're able to purchase it and sell it here, which is really nice. And I have heard that Whole Foods is actually going to start carrying the Canaan Fair Trade olive oil. So I haven't seen it yet, but yeah. So hopefully, so that's another, so our role has been highly educational. We also have done advocacy by going and meeting with the legislative staff of our senators and our representative here in the Denver area. So that's another aspect of our work. And then we also have a large mailing list, and which some of you all may be part of, but we're able then to let people in the community know when there are actions, when there are like the protest last November against the war in Gaza, the attack on Gaza. We were able, to let our email list know about that, so we were able to bring people to that demonstration. So those are the kinds of things that Sabeel is doing, and we would definitely welcome you to come to our meetings. This brochure up here is a little bit old, but we do have one more meeting left this year, and it will be on Sunday, May 5th. We typically meet on the first Sunday of the month at Mountain View Presbyterian Church, and you're welcome to join us if you'd like to just sort of get together with other people who are concerned about this issue, to learn more and then to sort of support one another in what we do.
What's on the agenda, that one?
On May 5th, it will be Kelly Baker, who's one of our members who spent 6 months in Beit Sahur, in Jerusalem. We had another member who spent some time in Beit Sahur. But she worked for I can't remember the name of it, but it's a Palestinian justice. That's another one. Aurish, yeah, the Palestinian it's a justice organization, and she did an internship with them, and she's going to talk to us about her experience there. She was there from last, I think, June through December as part of her studies.
When you said the end of the year, you didn't mean through December, did you?
We kind of take a break during the summer, so our last meeting for this academic year will be May 5th, and then we'll start up again in September, the first Sunday in September. We'll be back there again. And if you'd like to be on the Sabeel email list and be informed about what's going on, let me know and just give me your email address, and I'd be happy to add it to the list. Yes, or to help with the planning.
Also, Sabeel East Jerusalem is having a big young adult conference this summer, so if you know young adults who are looking for a way to be involved, that's something that's really cool.
I wanted to say something about Sabeel. Their calendar is now plugged into the Colorado BDS Campaign calendar, so all their activities and events are now on our website. So this is just one of the aspects of what the coalition is. It's plugging everybody in their events so you can see it in one place. I'm going to talk about Denver BDS and TIA CREF. Oh, you're ready.
Just the arrow.
Up or down?
Side.
Okay. I was a part of Denver BDS, and the group is still kind of around, but we haven't done a lot of things in probably a couple of years. There's still a list, and some of you may be on that list. But we were one of the groups that worked on pressuring TIA CREF to divest from companies that profit from the Israeli occupation. You may wonder, what is TIA CREF? Who exactly are they? It's short for Teachers Insurance Annuity Association College Retirement Equity Fund. And they're one of the largest financial services in the United States. And they're one of the largest retirement funds in the world. They provide for over 15,000 colleges, universities, medical organizations, research clinics, and other nonprofit organizations. And besides TIA-CREF investing in companies that profit from the Israeli occupation, one of the reasons that they were chosen as or targeted in the BDS movement is because they are a huge corporation, they have so many funds invested in many different places. And by getting TIA-CREF to divest from these companies that profit from the organization, it will have a huge impact on pushing Israel to end the occupation. Okay, the companies that we are asking TIA-CREF to divest from are Caterpillar, which supplies huge bulldozers, sometimes armed and with armor plates on it, that destroy many Palestinian villages, homes, businesses. There's Elbit Systems, which is an Israeli-owned company, and they supply weapons and, they supply drones. They supply drones to the Israeli military. There's Northrop Grumman, which supplies weapons and weapons parts to the Israeli military. Veolia, which runs a segregated bus system and also deals with the waste of, I don't know if it's both Israel and the settlements, but they dump that waste on Palestinian land. Another one is Motorola, which supplies surveillance and communication equipment, which is then used in the illegal Israeli settlements and the apartheid wall. One of the actions that the Denver BDS took in pressuring TIA-CREF to divest was we did a flash mob, which is basically street theater. It's singing and dancing. And what we did was we did several of them on this very busy day. It was during lunch hour, and we went up and down the 16th Street Mall. And we also did it in front of the TIA-CREF building on 16th and Broadway. And the purpose of this was to not only get the attention of the employees at TIA-CREF and the executives, but it was also to educate the public about how TIA-CREF invests in these companies. And there were several of us afterwards that attempted to hand deliver a letter, Pat was one of them actually, in asking TIA-CREF to divest from these companies. And we were stopped by the security. They wouldn't allow us to go up. So we just gave that letter to the security. If you're interested in working on this issue, one of the groups that's working on this right now is Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice, and Ron will be at the workstation. He can give you information, and you can sign up for that. So Ron is part of the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice working on that. So thank you so much. All right, we are going to take, I'm sorry, we still have another person. I'm sorry, Chuck. Chuck is going to talk about the church sanctions, and he's also going to talk about the Israeli bond bill that our Colorado legislature is trying to push through.
Yes.
Invest our money, or I'll let him.
You want to do this all at one time?
Good.
Yeah, why don't you? I mean,
I'll make it my bag. Two people left.
I know, I'm sorry, you're next, you are.
Well, I'm Chuck Carlson, and I started a project called Project Strait Gate. A few years ago. Strait Gate is a biblical expression, and it means there is no easy way. It comes out of the book of Matthew. What we were concerned about was the fact that in my church career, I found out that the Christian church that I was in, which was a Southern Baptist church, was doing nothing to prevent us from getting into the first war in Iraq. And furthermore, they were supporting everything Israel did. and I couldn't understand why, and I went to Gaza and spent a few days there and came home and I knew exactly why. And so we decided, I got together with a half dozen friends and we started a project called Project Strait, which was to challenge evangelical churches about the way they were treating the Palestinian people. The chief guy in charge of policy, you might say political policy, in the Southern Baptist Convention at that time was Richard L. Land. And about the Palestinians, about the Gazans, he said, it's God's way or the highway. And what he meant by that was God gave the land to the Israelis, and the Palestinians have absolutely no right to it, and therefore they should leave. That was essentially what he said. He meant the Gazans, where I just come back from Gaza. And so we started this project to challenge churches about their policies about Israel and Palestine. And we found out from study that this is a religious issue that comes out of their interpretations of the Bible. I'm going to make this part of it real short because we want to talk about the bonds. And I know time is limited. And then we'll have a workshop later, and those of you who want to know more about why Christian churches have supported Israel for the last 50 years, we can go into more detail about that there. But it is an interpretation of the Bible that says that somehow God gave the land to the present day state of Israel 3,000 years ago. Figure that one out. And it even uses, of course, the term Jew very often in the Christian Bible to carry out this idea. We started conducting what we call vigils at Christian churches. There's one of our signs in the back corner over here that shows Palestine on the cross and the symbolic thing for Christian churches. And we started to go to the biggest Christian churches in the country. And what we found out is that Christianity today claims to have about 250 million members who claim to be Christians in the United States. Of that number, roughly 1/3 fit into this category called Christian Zionist, and the number is even bigger if you talk about those that are influenced by Christian Zionism. And we figured out how the influence takes place. We figured out how it started, and we've written a lot about it. And but we took this mission to about roughly 100 of the biggest churches in the country. Some of them have as many as 15 or 20,000 members. We went to one in Virginia, McLean, Virginia, that actually occupies the former world headquarters of the National Wildlife Association, and it's 1 mile around the perimeter of it if you drive your car around it. Unbelievable big churches that are totally Zionist, and this is the most powerful influence today from a grassroots level for Israel. Israel is gaining more influence through the Christian Zionist churches than any other group that you could possibly name.
You said Christian Zionists are actually worse Zionists.
They are the worst of Zionists. Yeah, they are very dedicated. But also, within these churches are lots of very good people that don't really understand what's there. Without going further into that, that is what we started out to do. And what is so encouraging, and I hope that it gets carried out here, is that at the time that I started doing this in 2002, after coming back from Gaza and watching missile raids on the people and seeing people killed, but what at that time, if you were in a Christian Zionist church and you said, well, what about the way we're treating the Palestinians, they would say, well, you need a better education about God's gift of the land to the Israelis. That would be the attitude. And if you went to a mainline church, like my friend Arnie preaches in, if you went to a mainline church, generally the idea was that somehow they knew better, but nothing was happening. Maybe Arnie would disagree with me on that, but the mainline churches that I went to back then, very little was happening.
Plausible deniability.
Something like that. Maybe Arnie will stand and make a comment about that. That's not true now. in about 2008, the National Council of Churches came out with a statement, a position paper. And it's why we should be concerned about Christian Zionism. And this is maybe the first thing that I saw. I've got it here somewhere. But they actually came out with this position paper about we should be concerned about Christian Zionism because of what it's doing to the Palestinian people, among other things. And then a few years later, very recently, in fact last year, a letter was signed by 15 mainline Christian denominations with my estimate of maybe 30 million members. That's just a wild guess. Maybe it's more than that, I don't know. These include, aforementioned, I think, the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, the ECLA, so we've got some members of that here, and one of the Presbyterian churches, and several mainline churches, and they came out with a very strong position paper that said, and they actually issued a paper to the Congress and said, stop funding foreign aid for Israel because Israel is using it to kill Palestinians. Very briefly, I have the statements here, but the papers are very good. These are a good amount of understanding. So what's happened in these 10 or 12 years since we started out challenging evangelical churches, Christian Zionist churches, is the mainline churches are now beginning to waken up to this. And that is an extremely favorable situation, and it's one that we really need to take a hold of, and we need to encourage it. And so I'm suggesting that we do a project where we actually try to encourage these mainline churches where they've had leadership at a national level who've come out and taken a position, but maybe the 100 different congregations here in this area haven't taken a position. In other words, there are about 105, I think, evangelical Lutheran churches in Colorado. I don't know how many of them have actually come out and taken a position on Israel-Palestine, but there is at least a very brave faction within those congregations at a national level that have signed these papers. So that is a project that I would hope this group would really get a hold of, and it would involve a big database. It should be a national project. It's got tremendous opportunity and be a lot of fun. Now, on the, I'll just stop talking about churches there, and if you wanted me to talk about the
Absolutely.
bill,
I
should I
think
go to that now?
it
Or
should
should I ask for a question before I do that?
Whatever you want to do.
Any question that just can't wait? Yes.
I think it's wonderful you're doing the work challenging the Christian Zionists. Have you ever visited with some of the Jewish Zionists?
Well, I've joined Jewish friends who do that, and one in Ann Arbor, Michigan, has been challenging Jewish Zionists for years. But no, we have devoted ourselves to what we know best. And I came out of that culture, and I can talk to those people, and I understand why they are doing what they're doing, and I understand that they are at error and that they can be taught. And so when we build these churches, we actually use very gentle methods to try to get people to come out and talk to us. What we're after in a great big church of 20,000 people is to get 10 people to stop and talk to us and ask us, why are you here? What's this really all about? So that's what we aim for.
There's a really interesting connection, actually politically, between the Tea Party, obviously. This is at the risk of stating the obvious. The Tea Party, who's backed by this fundamentalism, and the Israeli cause.
Yeah.
And that's why our, the Dems and the Republicans are so, bad on this.
It's all very ill-advised, but it's most ill-advised in the churches itself. And what we say is talk to the kids, our effort. Now, we've been to, for instance, Faith Bible Church. This is the biggest Zionist church in Colorado, maybe, unless you go to Colorado Springs, and then there's bigger ones. But we've been there twice, and they have Israeli flags all around the church, almost nice to honor Israel, and John Hagee's there, and an amazing number of important Jewish figures come to these things, and some of them talk to us, and quite a few people have helped us in one of those vigils. And we tell our people, don't talk to anybody with gray hair. We may have gray hair, but talk to the kids. And a guy comes by with his son, ask the son to come over and talk to you. And so that's really the future of it.
We're going to have to move on to the
Okay.
Israeli bond issue.
All right.
But thank you so much for the church update.